Well, let's see. Where do I even want to start with this? I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the moon part of this full moon, because it's just having a party. So we're gonna talk about the moon part of the full moon. Like I've said before, full moons are oppositions at exact degrees between the sun and the moon in opposing signs. So basically what we have happening here is there is a multitude of stuff up there in Aries that is at exactly pretty much the degree of the moon, except off by a few minutes. So the sun, Chiron, and Venus are all 8 degrees opposing the moon. Just, you know, just chilling. Just, let's just start that off right there. With all this going on, what's happening is basically everything that deals with the moon, which is our subconscious, our intuition, our emotions, our deeper receptive natures, or how blocked off we are. This could also be a lot of trauma or our connections to feminine energy, whether that is in relationships or it's our relationship with ourselves, is basically trying to balance out, and this is in the sign of Libra, so it's already in the sign of balance. This moon wants balance. So that's even adding more to this. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted here with something I was looking at. But yes, and that moon, this moon's great for that. There is going to be so many things that easily make it. That's a good point I need to bring up here. We are going to become so easily distracted. It is not even funny. Because there are 2 grand air trines with this moon. So basically there is not only it being a Libra moon, which is air energy, there is all this other air conditioner. Oh my gosh. All this other air energy just pouring into this moon very easily, because trines are like this channel that just allows flow, just straight flow of energy. And you need to see what houses this is happening for you in with Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini energy. And it's going to be at 0 to 16 degrees. So whatever you got going on there, whether it's a house split, you need to look at both houses, or you have planets in those degrees, you're going to be getting an added bonus of these planets sitting in there and doing this. So, the first grand air trine I'm going to look at here, besides this balance, you got to keep in mind there's this balance going between all this Aries stuff, which I'm going to bring into the picture in a minute. But first we need to see all this energy that's trying to balance out. We have the first grand air trine is going to be between the moon, Saturn, and Mars. So I already talked about what the moon's energy is, our subconscious, the emotions, all this type of. This could also be nurturing and trying to create a new idea, new beauty out of something as well, like out of our subconscious, with this being in Libra, and that's very Venus energy. But having this connected to Mars and Gemini is pretty much like tons of creative ideas. And it's like it's like being pulled towards everything that interests you. And you could go back and forth between interests, or back and forth between changing certain things, or just having the energy of being very indecisive. But if you're channeling that into creativity and you're at least writing down all your ideas, you can later act on them when there's more grounded energy. Don't feel like you need to act on every single idea that you're getting right now. Some things are just meant to be jotted down so we can have them for later. Other things, it's really screaming, especially with communication. If you're having any kind of creativity in that way, whether it is speaking to others, teaching, having a platform, blogging, like pretty much anything that's doing with writing and communication between others or groups, this is really being highlighted at this moon. So if there's creative endeavors you're doing with that, that would be very promising, because it's pretty much what this moon is highlighting. Like, you know, we can create this energy very easily, and we're motivated to do this. We're also motivated to communicate and do these things. And then you have this energy combining with Saturn. Now, when this energy combines with Saturn, it's bringing in both the feminine and masculine energy, because we look at the moon as the mother and Saturn as the father. A lot with that energy, a lot of authority, a lot of restriction and things like that. But what this is creating is this flow energy. And what's interesting is Saturn's at 11 degrees, which is a master number. That is spirituality, and it's spirituality of humanity and the self. And Saturn is actually in Aquarius, which is humanity. So this is creating this flow of being able to really connect with your group. Whatever energy that you're sitting at right now, you're going to be finding your group. For some people, this is finding your soul tribe and just freaking talking it up and having a great time and creating and expressing yourself. It will be very easy to do that right now. Especially if that's what you've been manifesting and what you've been looking for. Or you can use this moon to manifest that, to be honest with you, if that's something you really want to do, because this is like shining a light on that area. This also is bringing light to what we subconsciously view or subconsciously hold perspectives of when it comes to restrictions that have been placed on us, whether it was when we were younger, or it's stuff that we haven't healed within ourselves with this like subconscious energy. It's making it easier for us to have the motivation to actually push and deal with these things. The more you are allowing these things, like I said, it's open flow, the more growth you're gonna have. Very rapid growth, because this is air energy. You're not going to be waiting around for earth energy to make this grow. It's like you think, it happens. And that's something to really keep in mind right now. Thinking makes it happen. So if you want certain things happening, I would say just manifest whenever your intuition pulls you to do it. You don't have to listen to stuff. That is like a major thing that I feel like a lot of people need to know, is that I know a lot of people talk about new moon and full moon manifestation. If you are pulled to do it at any freaking time, go do it. Your intuition is important, especially with Mercury being in Pisces and conjunct Neptune. It's pretty much like our intuition is so free-flowing communicating, if we'll listen to it, that we're gonna start seeing just how much we are doing intuitively. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I recently, because of Owen, as you guys know Owen, he randomly got something that had a lot to do with feng shui and different directions and things like that. So I was looking into them because it really like intrigued me. And then I was like, wait, this is giving like directions that you place things, like, you know, what you're creating with your space and all this stuff. And I looked up the directions of what I have things in and how it coincides with the different elements and helps me. And it turns out all of this intuitively that I've put in spaces, wherever I've put my personal altar, wherever I've put my workspace and how it's set up in different directions. I actually used a compass to look at this, but it's actually already in that. So that means, like, if you're trusting your intuition and, like, you can use different ways to check it, I feel like that'd be very interesting. For some people, like, just doing different things that make you realize you've been doing things intuitively and didn't even know it. Or that you possibly are in a location that you moved to, or that you feel like you've created a new space in, or you made a new thing in your home, like a different area into something else. It'd be a good thing to see how in tune you are and what you're doing right now. Just like an interesting exercise, to be honest with you. I don't really know where that's coming from, but, you know, I'm just going to go with it. This is really helping us see the restrictions we place on ourselves, or just other groups that have placed on us, and what we're okay with and what we're not okay with, and being either rebellious and standing up for something, or there's going to be the people with the herd mentalities doing certain things. This is also, if you're doing creative things, like, just, I don't know what the heck that was, my thing's on Do Not Disturb, but this right here is giving us an energy of, if we are creating something, basically, if we're following our passion and we're very, like, heart-driven with it, we're gonna be pulling groups. Like, we're just gonna be finding the people, or they're gonna find us, whatever you're creating, and it's gonna be like that group of people, because Aquarius is that energy. It's like wish fulfillment. It's the wish fulfillment house, and it's like that Aquarian energy is our individuality. It's not conforming, but yet having your people where you're allowed to be completely authentic. So if you're creating from that place, if you have it out somewhere, you're gonna pull the people to you. Hey Ruby. I'm talking about this Libra full moon. It's very interesting energy. So that in itself, either you're gonna be breaking molds, and that's gonna be pulling your people to you, or you're going to start realizing different things, whether it's internal or external, or if it's like, you know, kind of global things. It's looking at that kind of restriction and seeing, like, where we want change, especially with this kind of justice energy, with it being in Libra. It's like needing justice. I wouldn't be surprised if it's easy to get justice, or possibly if there's high profile things going on, that justice goes to the right person. Whatever's going on in the media right now, because this is a lot of media energy. If there's high profile, especially because there's 8th house energy, if there's high profile court cases, especially dealing with family or like secrets and things like that, that's gonna be something where the party that actually deserves it, that has the karma built up and justice, is they're gonna get what they're due. So there's going to be a lot of retribution happening here. Now that could be for you too, if you're doing this kind of thing and you're going through the process of this. You're already feeling this. You're probably doing a lot of stuff with this kind of energy this week, and it's going to go into next week, like pretty much like the middle of next week, with all this energy. So that's, I mean, you're given the green light, because, I mean, if you're in the right, you're going to get what's yours. That could be some good info for people that have been wondering if they have like court dates or things like that, or if you're working on certain things, it's a good time to get ahead with it. Especially if it's anything where you need that detail and that fine, like, mental tune, if you've been having trouble with it. That's where this energy is kind of going. Everywhere else is going to be very scattered. So dealing with other aspects of ourselves is not going to be the highlight right now. Like, if we're trying to do that kind of thing, it's going to be more like it's easier for us to get distracted, because all of our mental energy is going to these kind of outlets. We especially with Mercury in Pisces and having Leo energy kind of being skipped over here, especially since it's conjunct all, like the sun's actually conjunct everything going on with the moon. It's like this flamboyant communication kind of energy. Like some people are going to have a real flair for the dramatic. I am not going to lie with that. But if you're doing this creatively and you're feeling like you're being too bold, you're not. Like this is like really emphasizing like creativity here. And if you're wanting to put things out as emphasizing career, going after things you only felt could be dreams or things just literally like lighting up and taking off, especially if you're grouping with people or you're working in partnership with others, because having Venus conjunct all this is pretty much like you're finding people that align so closely to your values and your core system that the work is actually getting a boost. Because 8 degrees, which you guys can look in this and see that there are a lot of 8 degrees. There are actually 5 placements that are at 8 degrees that include Chiron. I was about to say planets, but Chiron's not a planet. But we have the Sun, Chiron, Venus, Uranus, and the Moon all at 8 degrees. And they're all doing something with the Moon, tightly conjunct each other, or just Uranus, which is its own damn thing at this point. It just... we all know Uranus is doing whatever the hell it wants, and it's in conjunct this Moon, so it's really doing whatever the hell it wants. And if you have anything between 6 to 10 degrees Pisces, you're having a yod with this energy. I mean, like I said, you guys need to look at where you have things in your charts right now, because this is definitely very potent. Now, 8 degrees energy is literally Saturn energy. And once again, we're going back to Saturn, and all of this stuff that is 8 degrees that is conjunct is sextiling Saturn. Like literally all this. And it's pretty tight. It's a 3-degree sextile. Which is, what's sextiles is opportunities. Tons of opportunities. So like I said, especially for those people doing 8th house matters, there is a lot of opportunity, and it can really catapult you forward in career. This could be some people that literally their career got ruined and it being brought back out that they weren't the bad person because all the secrets are getting revealed. And it's the same for you. If it's been happening to you on a personal level, it's like things are going to be revealed, and it's just going to be like this release that needed to happen. If you've been working really hard, because 8 energy is all about like this hard work and perseverance, especially with that Saturn energy, like really learning to work with it and the karma. This is pretty much saying like, hey, it's hard work paying off and getting some success back. Whether that is on a large scale or a more personal scale, it's gonna depend on where your placements are. But this energy is very heavy in how can I put this? It's very catapulting energy. And if you want to kind of look at this way, it's really reminding, this whole chart is reminding me of an arrow, the entire thing. Because this, if you look at the moon as being like the back part of the bow, where it's like being pulled down to, which is literally 10th and 4th house energy, because if you're in 4th house energy and you're building that, is what catapults you out into your career. Which, okay, we're just gonna go with it. This moon is the point of the bow, that's the back of the bow. This trining part between, and I haven't even talked about the second grand air trine yet. We're still going here. But this trines, because there is also a grand air trine with the North Node included in it, which brings North Node into everything I've been talking about, guys. North Node's all aspected in this too. This means there's this whammy of being pulled towards purpose, or people being obsessive about what they're being drawn to. So that can also be a negative aspect of this, especially if it's really getting lost in a lot of pain and hurt and going back to addictions, this can be very heavy obsessive energy for that. So watch out for that kind of very heavy thing, because there's going to be, like I said, there's a lot happening. I'm trying to go with everything here. But we're having both of these parts of the grand air trines pretty much pulling back. It's like this snap kind of thing. It's the string that's going to shoot. Now, look at this opposition literally as the arrow. It is the point of the arrow. And look at the rest of the point of the arrow. Like this right here, it's like a bow shooting us from our depths to our career. And it's pulling in a lot of things that have been hidden from us. Because both the hidden house, the 8th and the 12th house, okay? Everything's freaking hidden in these houses. And it's like secrets. It's other people's stuff. It's the subconscious. It's occult, which is unknown knowledge. It's all of these things are literally the springboard for this arrow into career. And there's opportunities out the yin yang with these energies just connecting to this point. So if you've been working hard with all this 8 energy, you're gonna get a catapult in this direction. And in some way, these energies are going to be effective for you. Depending on your placements, it's going to be some more prominent than others, like I'm saying. But these are the highlighted energies of what's going to be happening on top of your own chart. We also, like I was saying, since I have mentioned it already, we're going to start talking about that grand air trine with the North Node. So having North Node energy going to the moon, this is a direct pull from our subconscious. And like I was saying, that's why it can become so obsessive with all this Mercury and Neptune and Pisces energy, especially squaring off. It's creating a challenge between wanting to go towards what we really want, that we're feeling pulled to, and getting lost and doing things that don't make sense to us, because it becomes very challenging to discern between the voices of the outside that are trying to, how can I put this, that are trying to persuade you or pull the wool over your eyes, so to speak, or even old habits trying to pull you back and make you comfortable, because this is uncomfortable. This is very uncomfortable having this square here. So it's, for some people, it's going to be a big mental struggle. There's going to be people that possibly have a big pull for needing help through therapy, which there is no shame in that. And if you're feeling that, don't wait on consulting someone. Like, talk to somebody about it. And if you're not comfortable yet talking to somebody, talk to a friend, and possibly get comfortable enough to start doing that and getting help. And this could also be people needing to realize that certain things that have been helping them with these parts, they possibly could realize there is addictions to these things and want to learn to better cope with things. It's like there's a lot of things trying to change what we're being pulled at here with our subconscious. Like literally the Pisces energy, like fighting itself because it's 12th house energy. So make sure if you're feeling things very heavy right now, or depression's kicking in, you don't know why you're feeling this way, just know that it's okay, especially if you've been feeling it for a while. This is only going to keep getting harder over the next few weeks until this starts kind of moving away. Like Mercury needs to move away, like it needs to get on with itself, so this isn't hitting as heavy in the mental department, which isn't gonna, it's like, give it like a week or so, it'll feel a lot lighter once it's out of the square range. It's still gonna be there, like lingering until it's finally out of Pisces. It'll be easier because it'll be the energy of the sextile as opposed to the squaring energy. Things will flow a lot easier. But if you're feeling very heavy right now, if you're feeling like any kind of stress mentally, allow yourself, because I know it's hard, Allow yourself to get help, even if you're very driven not to, or there's things that you feel ashamed of. Just know that it's better to get the help than to sit and suffer through this, no matter what it is or how you start your journey to get help, which healing is very much highlighted right now. And like I said, 8s are hard work, and there is a lot of 8s here, and it literally has every planet in it that would cause this kind of energy. So don't feel any shame in getting help right now if you're feeling heavy, especially with world events piled on top of this energy. It could be like a big opening. And like I've been saying for a while, mental health is really getting highlighted this year. Don't feel like you're weak or you're less than. It actually takes strength to admit these things and to go and get help for them. And there's going to be a lot of support here. There's going to be a lot of people that you didn't realize, especially having Venus in here, that are really going to support you doing these things. It's almost like they're going to come out of nowhere because you're taking the initiative, and they're going to start making, like, you might inspire other people if you have a platform. If you start doing these things and you're open about it, you could actually inspire others to go towards their healing instead of feeling like they need to hide it. Because with the sun, as much as it is our heart, it is also our hurt ego. So it's hard for people to get over this wound. And the more they feel like they can connect to people, I almost feel like crying. This is like so freaking weird. But the more they feel like they can connect to people and they're not by themselves, it's gonna make it to where more people accept it and are not just hiding it and hurting themselves. Because people need this. They need to know they're not alone in these feelings, and that it's okay. It's like there's such a stigma with being able to speak up and get help. And that really needs to change. Like, so much it needs to change. And I mean, maybe it'll help somebody, but I went to therapy. And I'm not just saying like go and do this kind of thing. If I ever say something and I am saying like it would help, it's because I've actually tried it. I'm not gonna be going and like telling you to go do this thing unless I've experienced it myself. I'll say like you should look to somebody that has experience in this, but I'm still gonna say go for yourself, because we're all different and we're gonna be affected differently. I know for myself, mental health is a big struggle, and it's because I went through a lot of trauma. I went to therapy. It was really hard work. As soon as I wasn't even feeling stable, to be honest with you. I went to therapy when I started getting diagnosed with a lot of things that I didn't know was wrong with me. I thought it was normal. And that's how these things feel, because you live with them every day. You think it's normal until people start telling you it's not. And then you feel very ostracized because it's like, I'm not normal. And then you feel scared to talk about it. And it makes you bury yourself more. If you feel this way, I really do encourage therapy, because it can help you start saying things that you wouldn't say otherwise, and you're more honest with yourself. And you have an honest sounding board. I would also say, use your intuition to pick your therapist, because that's what I did. Even though I didn't realize it, I went off of how a voice sounded, because I would call, and if I got their answer machine or whatever it was, or if I spoke to them, I called first to see what they sounded like. Because if you're going to be talking to somebody, it has to be someone that calms you. It can't be someone whose voice makes you have more anxiety, especially if you already have anxiety. It won't work. So do something for yourself where you feel either a connection or you feel safe with what you're doing, because once you feel that, you're able to open and blossom more. I did it for years, and I still wasn't fully healed, but it got me to a place where I was sound enough and I knew myself enough to start my own healing journey on my own once I moved on from that. I'm never going to tell somebody to do everything on their own. We are humans. We need people to help us see and mirror ourselves. We can only be so introspective. There's a reason there's more than just us in the world. And I know it's like in a lot of communities, just this, not just the spiritual community, that with therapy, it's like I'm going there and I'm admitting defeat. If anything, you're going there and you're being honest and you're finally allowing yourself to be vulnerable, which is such a power move and so much of you stepping into your potential, because you're taking that step to face something that is very heavy for yourself head on, and you're willing to do it, and that's like a huge step. And being able to do this, you are able to finally start shedding layers of yourself that held you back and you didn't even know it. Because you might go for one thing thinking like, this is what I'm going for, this is what it's going to help me with, and you end up coming out realizing there were some things you did that were so subconscious, that felt so normal, that you were hurting yourself and you didn't know it. And that's what happened with me. More than anything, I went there, I would tell pieces of my story, not even the full thing because there's so much, but as I got it out, and then I would say, like, be asked how I felt, and I would say things, it's like you realize that you don't need to feel that way. Like, that thing when things happen and you feel guilty and you feel shame, it's not, especially if you were put somewhere where you weren't safe and you carry that with you, it's like realizing that your shame comes from a place of feeling like you should have done something when you were put somewhere where you couldn't. You didn't have the tools to cope with it, or even the tools to save yourself, and then carrying that shame with you of like you're stigmatized when you went through this. Like, having someone help you with your perspective is so huge. Like, I can't even put a value on that. And there's also the stigma with medication. What I can say with that, I am on medication for what's going on with me. My anxiety was so bad, I would have to say probably before I started getting help, like probably 6 or 7 years ago, my anxiety was so bad that I was having, sorry, let me close the window, that is loud. Okay, so hopefully that's better, because someone is deciding to cut their lawn while I'm doing this. I mean, it is a nice day, so. But, what happened with me was they thought I was having seizures, because, I mean, I had undiagnosed pretty much anything mental. I didn't have anything diagnosed mentally. I had hyperthyroidism, which was a physical thing, so they were thinking that was connected to something. But basically what was happening, I was blacking out while walking. Like, I would completely, almost like sleepwalking, but I would be at work. They thought I had narcolepsy. They thought I had a brain tumor. They diagnosed me with having seizures. I was delusional with time and would argue with people about how much time had passed, and I couldn't, even with managers pointing at clocks and telling me I need a break, I didn't realize I had been working for 5 hours straight. I thought I'd only been doing it for like an hour. Like, there was a lot of people really worried about me, and I was having migraines every single day, to the point where I was wearing sunglasses in my house with the shades drawn, and everything hurt. But I was still going to work. I was getting tested at doctors constantly. They did not know what was wrong with me. I had so many brain scans. I had freaking sleep testing where they hook you up to everything and they watch you sleep through the night. It's like any test you can imagine, I was put through it with them trying to figure out what was wrong. And they were saying what I had was, if it wasn't it was mimicking petit mal seizures, which instead of grand seizures, it's like, you know, pretty much everything I was experiencing with like blacking out, complete delusion, confusion, not knowing where I was, just everything happening until I started seeing a therapist. And she was talking to me, and she literally was like, have you ever gone to a psychiatrist for your anxiety? And I'm like, what? Like, that's the only reason why I even got looked into for anxiety, is because I went to a therapist. That I wasn't going there thinking I was gonna find the reason why so much was wrong with me after being tested by so many specialists. But literally, they put me on, by the time I finally got to a psychiatrist, I was in a state where I couldn't even sign my name to things because I was shaking so bad. I was pretty much a few steps before being admitted to a mental institution. I was not okay. But I went in there, they put me on anxiety meds, and it made me realize that a lot of the blacking out things, I was having constant panic attacks. I didn't even know what was happening with me. And so much stuff became clear. And as soon as, like, I know a lot of people put stigma on medication, but it literally, like, saved me because of how bad I was. And that's pretty much fresh coming out of a very traumatic environment. I was finally in a safe environment, and all the survival energy I had turned into massive anxiety, which I know I had it, but it was constantly being used to survive. So once I was in a safe place, it completely lost. Like, it just went berserk. So it's gonna happen in different ways. Like, everyone is so different. You could be in the situation and showing all the things with certain mental things and not know it just because you're surviving. Especially if the place isn't safe. And then you could be in a completely safe environment and everything just explodes because your body finally, like, just lets it out. And it's very unpredictable because it is mental things. It's chemicals going wrong. So being able to have that help me pretty much made it to where instantly with the anxiety medication, the migraines went away. I wasn't blacking out anymore. I was not delusional. It was like everything just calmed down. I wasn't having the constant heart pain and panic attacks that I didn't know were panic attacks. There was just so much that rapidly changed just having that. And it allowed me to get my bearings. I was in therapy at the same time, and I was able to make progress. Like, it was a whole process that I did for years in order to start getting myself back that I never had. And that's a big thing, is when you finally start trying, even if you're not trying and you're kind of in a place where you start being able to understand yourself, and you never were, never did. It's almost like it's a big dump on yourself. And you can have a huge mental breakdown if it's something like, it's like a big identity crisis where you don't know who you are, you're very confused, and you're just kind of surfing. And I feel like this is what people refer to, like, in the spiritual community as the dark night of the soul, or whatever they call it. But it's like literally going through identity crisis is what is equated to death of the ego. And I feel like people don't explain what that is. They just say, like I said, the terminology, the dark night of the soul, death of the ego, all these things, awakening, but they're not explaining it in terms where people can understand the mental aspect. Because instead of focusing on the science and putting it together so that it makes sense, like people understanding going through massive waves of depression and anxiety and that it's pretty much like having an identity crisis and having to learn to work through it, using the proper tools to work towards it. Not everyone can just sit and meditate and work through things. And some of the people, I like the ding going off, but not everyone can sit and meditate and work through things. And even some of those people that think they're still not reflecting or talking to somebody to know if they are. Some people can literally just be burying stuff and thinking they're working through it. But it's like whatever way is comfortable for you. I mean, if you are one of those people that possibly came from a place that gave you the tools in order to do these things, or you met people that gave you the tools and you don't need the outside help, then I am not condoning either way, because like I said, everyone is so different. But if you're feeling very overwhelmed and you don't know what to do and you feel like everything's hitting you and it's like a pit, don't be ashamed to go for help in any shape, in any form, any shape, any form, whatever it looks like. If it's a therapist, a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever you have to go to for this. Just because people hype up the spiritual experience does not mean you can't get medical attention. And I think that's a big thing that needs to be talked about within the spiritual realm of all this energy. Because even though people can be so dreamy and so about like the other side and working through things, we are given medical help, like physical, like reality healing help in different fields, and people learning these things in order to help us. But like I said, some people, you need to be careful. Use your intuition with certain things, how you really feel, if you feel safe, because there are people out there that aren't doing it for the right things, just like there aren't people in the spiritual community doing things for the right reasons. You have to practice discernment, but don't be afraid to move forward, especially if all you hear is negative things. It's the same thing like if you only hear negative things about a hairdresser, or you only hear negative things about a general practitioner, or a pediatrician, or it can be a tarot reader or a psychic, or there can be bad energy whatever way you go, or a teacher. There can be anything, but it's using your discernment and knowing where you feel safe, like really trusting yourself, like where you feel safe is going to lead you in the direction that is help. And the thing is, I know there's a lot of stigma with how, yeah, Ruby, like really, I feel like there is so much stigma on certain names that are given to mental illness as well. Like people honestly with anxiety, I feel it's both under and over exaggerated because of just how much it's used so fluidly, and it's not really discussed. It's just like, you know, it's just thrown on a platter. That's why I was really specific with what my anxiety literally did to me physically, because I feel like there might be people going through certain things like that and they don't realize that's anxiety too. Like I didn't know it was. I was just hoping I didn't have a brain tumor or something because of how I was being treated by doctors as like an anomaly, and they didn't know why I was going through what I was going through. But mental health can do that. And then when you go to doctors and they give it a name, they're giving it a name so they know how to help you. It's like people have placed stigma on things, whether it is like the manic anxiety, like depressive disorders, bipolar disorders, all these different things. Literally, I was diagnosed with these things, and that's how I got help. I have bipolar 2. There's different forms of bipolar. Bipolar 2 is the one that people don't really talk about, because everyone talks about bipolar 1, which is supposed to be like the crazy people that run off and do things that it's like, what the fuck are they doing? Because they have the grandiose, manic, hyper crap they go off and do. Bipolar 2 is like severe manic depression that happens, but you internalize it. And it's like you literally, like, people don't know what's wrong with you because you hide it. It's like a very high functioning anxiety. And that's why it showed up in me physically, because I was functioning throughout all of it. But the way the bipolar 2 works is you can have such long periods of manic depression, and then you can have a time where you just get very happy. Whether that's for a minute, an hour, a week, a month, there's just this time of elation where you are so happy, and it doesn't make sense because you just stay happy, even if there's bad situations. And then it's like the extremely too optimistic person about everything, where optimism isn't always the best thing when there needs to be, like, you know, other energy happening, like realism. But it's like having that, but then going like very dipping into the manic depression. And it's not like you try to hurt other people. If anything, you hurt yourself more because you feel so much guilt over everything. And that's why it needs therapy on top of medication. And I caused a lot of pain unintentionally by always being in pain to the people that I really love. Because it's like I didn't realize what I was doing with my mood swings, where I could be very happy and it's like, you know, they'd be happy with me, and I would swing to such lows where I was crying and beating myself up, and people just didn't understand. Like, they felt bad. They thought they did something, and I'm like, you didn't do anything. And it's almost like I was in this state of knowing people didn't do anything to make me upset, but I was losing my mind because I was so unhappy. So that took time, and I'm still on medication. I've been able to go down on certain medications, but I have a whole lot of other health issues that are physical health issues that I have that come with mental illness just because of how they affect the body and chemicals and all this stuff. So there's so much more than the stigmas. There's so much science behind it. And I feel like people either glorify or stigmatize things. There's such a polar reaction that there really isn't facts coming in the middle and melding and meshing so people can understand what needs to be done. So I don't know, I just shared a bunch of random stuff, but I mean, if it helps somebody, I am so happy if it does, because that was such a dark time for me, and I was so scared, and I did not know if I was going to make it out of it. There even went a time where I couldn't eat anything, and it wasn't because I was trying to be anorexic. I was literally so depressed that I had no desire for food whatsoever, and I had to force myself to eat a yogurt or something because I knew I would die if I didn't give myself some nutrients. But it's like only my logic was what made me do something. It wasn't like I was there. And it is so hard to work through that, especially if you don't have a support system. I was very blessed to have a very strong support system once I got out of a very traumatic environment. The only reason I was able to get help is because of the support system. If you're not in that kind of place, because I know not everyone has that luxury, please allow yourself to find a place, whether it is a safe online community or it is a therapist or medication, whatever you can do to help yourself. I strongly urge it, because it's like, don't sit in silence by yourself hurting yourself. It's a very dark hole, and it's very painful. But also, don't shame yourself for what's happening around you, because you are trying to get better. Once you get to a space, the people who love you understand this, believe it or not. Like, they understand, they want you to get better, and usually when you're in that state, you won't listen to anybody. But if you trust them and listen to them and they see you improving, that's going to be the happiest thing for them. You're not going to have to sit there constantly apologizing, because people that truly care about you are going to be so happy that you've helped yourself, because that's all they want is you happy. But yeah, that was a big tangent that came off of that. So if that is a very heavy topic for you right now, or it's been really on your mind, this energy is really sitting all in that. On top of that, we have Jupiter at 22 degrees over here in Aquarius with this 9th house energy, which is higher understanding, growth, and the blessings that come with it, because Jupiter is the energy of Sagittarius as well. So it's like all that expansion and the freedom and belief in self that comes. And with 22 degrees, this is like us being pulled to this, our intuition pulling us, but also what is going to pull us to our path, our healthiest place that we can be, so we can be at our highest potential. And I feel like a lot of times it's overlooked. It's like pull to your path, but you're not realizing what that means. For some people, it means they go through a huge detox and they need a lot of help to get to a healthy place where they're comfortable with themselves. It doesn't mean you're at your job or your purpose as a platform or whatever it is. For some people, it's literally healing that they need, and that's their purpose. And I feel like so many things are glorified, but the actual healing journey itself needs to have more attention, because that's the heaviest aspect. Especially when it comes to different modalities of healing, there aren't enough discussed. It's just like, go through your awakening or whatever. It's like this needs to be talked about in a more not only spiritual sense, not only science sense or it's like there needs to be a whole encompassing energy to this, so people of all whether it's different races or different ages or different religions, whatever it is, or different belief systems, it's so people can understand as a whole and then find that connection that resonates so they get what they need. That is the important essence of it. It's not like niching what to do. It's like broadening the spectrum, which is what this Jupiter energy is doing among the masses, because Aquarius is the masses. It's like this is a do or don't kind of energy while Jupiter is here, and it'll sit there for a little bit because Jupiter's slow moving. But this degree is really trying to be like, what are you going to do for yourself? Are you going to do something? And this is hitting on a mass level, a humanity level. Like, what are you going to do? So a lot of people are really going to finally push themselves to do these things. And it's going to be so healing. It's really going to do a lot that most people don't even realize that they need. If you feel very compelled and pulled to do certain things for your health, especially mental health, listen to yourself. Don't let outside voices and influences come in and try to snuff out your intuition right now. There's also this big potential for unexpected groups to come in. I mentioned that some with the Grand Air Trine, but having Uranus, which is Aquarius energy, in this 11th house energy and in Taurus, is bringing in not only community, but community that makes you feel safe. It makes you feel your value, and this is very unexpected. Like, for those of you that don't have it and you've been working hard towards it, this is pretty much like it coming together. Especially those of you that have that degree of Pisces I mentioned earlier, it's really pinpointing that and bringing in healing feminine energy instead of that very pushing masculine energy. It's bringing in that. And it's also some people are definitely going to fall into some unexpected money as well. So if that happens, I am very happy for you. But that could be something you've been really, really, really wishing for because you need it, and it could be dropped on you during this time this week or next week. But it's like that's definitely being highlighted here too. Trying to see if there's anything else that's really sticking out for me here. I mean, there is this sextile that's going between Pluto and Mercury and Neptune. Like I said, that's even more opportunity going between the same houses. There's a lot of opportunity here. I am not kidding. Because like I said, there's that Saturn sextile at a tight degree, and it's the same thing with same house energy, same 8th house energy and 10th house energy with Pluto. Major opportunity for huge change with Pluto. For some people, this could be actually changing their public persona to something that more suits them, that gains them the recognition they've been waiting for. It's almost like falling into what you've been waiting for. For others, it's like a very deep subconscious transformation, especially with your own voice inside your head to yourself. This is some very strong energy. It's bringing up what possession you have or the control you have over your career or your destiny energy. Your recognition and what you get in the world, or just your legacy and what you leave behind, because that in itself, you could leave behind the legacy of finally healing a bunch of family trauma that was really freaking messed up, and then your legacy is leaving your children a place where they're healed and safe, and they can go about the world doing things in a healthy way, and they bring that to other people, which causes a ripple effect. And I don't think a lot of people think about that, but there's definitely that. And it could also be in your job as you're healing these things. It's like you could have a group, whether you're a teacher or a doctor or a platform, whatever it is, you could have people that you see, and just having that healed thing with yourself, you're being a healer to other people, because you're going to be a lot more compassionate and understanding. And when you extend that, that heals. Compassion is healing. That's often why it's so draining for people that give compassion to people that just take and they're not grateful. That's why being compassionate is so hard and so draining, because some people, they don't care about what they do, and that's why I'm saying practice discernment, guys. Like, it is so important while you're going through your healing and you're doing these things, no matter how personal or public you have to be for your healing, depending on where you're pulled to. It's so important. But I think that is where I'm gonna stop with the full moon reading itself.